Okay, so we're going to set up a Unity user interface with some buttons, a sphere and a cube, when they've been pushed into the air and then they fall to the ground, basically. So we need to set up a few things. We need to set up a ground plane. We need to put in the scene a sphere and a cube. We need to add rigid body physics to the sphere and cube. We need to create a state machine that would allow the sphere or the cube to be given thrust up into the air. And then we need to wire up the user interface to the state machine. So let's set up the scene and go from there. So we need 3D object plane. So now where is this plane? Okay, it's miles away, so let's bring it closer to us. Or 0 point. Press F to find it. There it is there. Okay, I'd like it to be a bit bigger, so let's make it 5 by 5. Let's give it let's make some materials so we can have let's say light green for the ground, so like grass. We'll have, in fact, let me make a copy of that, and then we'll have, this will be the ball, this will be the cube. So I'm just giving some names to them. Now let's make this light green, like I promised, like a fairly pale light green. So we drag that out onto the plane. Try that again. We drag that out onto the plane. There we are. The cube, we'll make that some kind of purple. And the ball we're going to make maybe a yellow. Okay, so we've got our plane, but we need our cube. Okay, so let's say 1, maybe not, 0.5, and 0 is fine. And then in that cube we can give it the cube mesh, cube material rather, hang on, game object, 3D sphere. Okay, so that's going to be -1, actually 2 is probably better. Yeah, 0.5 and 1, it's fine. Now where's our camera? Okay, the camera's in a reasonable spot. Okay, so back to the sphere, let's give it the ball material. So now we can see we've got, in fact, let's bring the camera in there. A bit closer. Okay, so now we have our brightly colored objects. Let's give them a state machine each. So now we need to PlayMaker. Add FSM. Okay, so this is still. It starts out in a still state. It's not doing anything. Yep, add state. We're going to have it propelled, or let's call it kicked. So it's like we kick the ball in the air sort of thing, or kick the cube in the air. Okay, so we're going to need some events. So the event would basically be a kick event. It's pretty straightforward. Kick. So if it's still, in fact, yeah, that's fine. You'll add transition. In fact, no, start again. State. We need to That's not what I had in mind. Don't do that. Oh my god. Right, that's what I want. Alright, so there we are. Let's add a button and test kicking this cube around and see if that works for us. So UI, we need a canvas. Okay, so the canvas is way over there. Let's get a good look at this thing. So do this, zoom in. Okay, now I'm going to put my panel on the left hand side, so we need a panel. Give object UI panel. There we are. Now that's taking up the whole screen. That's no good. So we want the anchors to be 0 to 0.1, and then we make the right 0, and now we're just on the left hand side of the screen. Now we need to add a button. UI button. Okay, so the button will be anchored to the left in the center. It will have a width. Actually, forget the width, we're going to use anchors to describe it. So the minimum will be 0 to not 1. Y is fine. Actually, that is correct. That's fine. No, let's do that. So now we want that to be 0, that to be 0. So now if we zoom in, the button should be the whole width of that panel. And now we can change the height. Let's make it 100. It's kind of tall. Let's... Okay, so this will be btn kick cube. Change the text to say cube. Let's make it a bit bigger. Perfect. Let's also move it up. So if I make this negative, we should negative 100. No, down. All right, fine. So let's make it positive 100 rather. Okay. So that's all great. Now we need to hook the button up to our cube, which has its state machine. So on the button, hang on, what's going on here? On the yes button. Oh, right, here we are. On click, hit the plus. We can drag or choose. I'm just going to drag the object in. No function. We find the PlayMaker FSM. We look for send event. The event is called kick, all in capitals. And that is that. Okay, so now that we have our cube, there it is way down there somewhere. We have our, now with our cube selected, we're looking at the cube's state machine. We have our still state, which is what it starts at. If we give it a kick, it will go to the kicked state. We need to add an action to the kick state, which will throw it up into the air. And then when it collides with the ground again, it'll go back to the still state. So let's add that action. So over here I have my actions tab. We can set the velocity. So if I drag that in here, we need a variable which we can add to the inspector to, let's make this a vector 3. Let's call it the velocity direction, vel direction. Okay, so hit this button here, inspector, and now if we go to the inspector, we can see that we have, here's our state machine. Here we've got a vel direction. If I want to make it go straight up, then I just need to put a positive value for y. Let's try 5. And if we hit play, and let's just go to the PlayMaker tab so we can see the state here. If I hit cube. It's gone to the kicked event, but it hasn't done what we want. That's great. So what's going on? State rather. Oh, I haven't set it up. Oops. We need the vector of the velocity to take vel direction. That's what was missing. Try that again. Hit play. Okay, so if I hit that, that kicks it, and then you can see when it collides again with the ground, it goes back to the still state. Now if I go to the inspector, because that variable's in the inspector, I should be able to change this to 10 and then kick it and it goes further up. Alright, so let's add the same state machine to the sphere. So, and we need to duplicate this button. So, tell you what, let's just hit Control D, let's duplicate the button. We'll call this not come on, kick cube, it'll be kick sphere or ball. Need to edit the text, so go here and we say ball, and in the button itself, instead of being positive 100, let's make that negative 100 in position. So we can see over here that we have our panel, side panel with a cube here and ball button there. We need to change what that points to, so that's not going to help me. Let's do it this way. Sphere, drag that into here. Now we need to set up the state machine. So for the sphere, let's add, in fact what we can do, let's get rid of that. Alright, fine, whatever. Go to the cube. I'm going to copy, sphere, paste. Yes. Okay. Ah, come on. Camera requires rigid body component, that's fine. So inspector, add component, physics, rigid body component. Okay, so mass drag. Where are you? Use gravity is ticked. Okay, so that's all good. Back to PlayMaker. Yeah, click. We added it. Anyway. So it's got a vel direction. Let's have a look at the inspector there. Okay, under controls. Good. Alright, so we have both attached. In this case, I'll get rid of ball direction. We'll go back to state. We'll get state. Yep, it uses the velocity direction. That should be all good. Go back to the inspector. What value do we have? Right, it's got 5. So just copy the other thing. I think we're good to go. And the button, yep, not that. Right, so we need to, we've got our sphere in there, function, PlayMaker, we need to send the event, and the event is kick, so that should be fine. Let's give this a play. If I kick the ball, if I kick the cube, ball, oh, that's interesting. Sphere. Oh, look at that. Why did you not return? There's something about, so this, the cube works, detects the collision, goes back. The sphere does not. Why? Why don't you detect collision? Got a rigid body. Discrete, that's okay. Huh. It's got a sphere collider. Radius 0.5. That might not be interesting. Okay, what's going on there? 0.5 radius, 0.6. Let's make it a bit big. Okay. Huh. Let's try that again. Yeah, hold on. What is going on? Okay. Why aren't you detecting the collision? State machine. Hold the bus. Add transition, system events, collision enter, collision stay. Let's add that as well. So on collision stay, it will go there. Okay, let's try that. That's interesting. Finished would be another one, actually. Let's try that. Let's get rid of that transition. Delete. Transition, delete, transition, finished. Transition, finished. Because frankly, once it's added the velocity, we don't care anymore. Oh, come on, finished. What's going on with that? Okay, that means the set velocity action doesn't set the finished variable. That's lame. Probably I shouldn't be editing that while it's running. Let's try that again. It's kind of interesting. Add transition, finished. Hit play. Yes, okay, that does work. I thought it would. Actually, I like that. Finished is probably cleaner than using collisions. I mean, collisions has its own benefit in a different way, but that's cleaner for what we want. So let's get rid of that here as well. Delete transition, add transition, finished, and up to there. If we hit play, that should be all good to go. Cube, ball. Yeah. The cube, it's back. Okay, so we're done. So what did we do? We added these ball and a cube. We gave them a rigid body. We gave them a state machine. The state machine is very simple. The still state is basically has no action. The kicked state has an action of setting the velocity. The kick state has a finished transition to bring it back the very moment the velocity has been added, because that's all we want to do. And we have that on both of the ball and the cube, the sphere and the cube. We have a panel, and the panel has two buttons, and the buttons, we go to the inspector. The buttons use the on-click event to, on the cube for instance, use send event and send that kick event, which makes the cube take this transition here, which of course adds the velocity. So that's how the whole thing is wired together. Thank you for watching.